It's finally time for our main event of the evening, the third leg of the trilogy between Dustin the Diamond Poirier. He's taking on the notorious Conor McGregor. And Matt, this is such an interesting fight. There's so many different talking points coming into this one because if you go way back to their first fight, it was at featherweight. It was about 7 years ago. And McGregor was dynamite at the time. It was on his way up through his rise in the featherweight division. He beats Mendez. He then beats Jose Aldo. He's the greatest featherweight of all time. He goes up to lightweight. He wins the belt against Eddie Alvarez. Peppered in between that, a couple of fights with Nate Diaz. But when you focus on it, the career, the achievements, the fight against Mayweather, one of the biggest stars that combat sports has ever seen. And in the time between the second fight and this fight coming up this weekend, McGregor, co-founders Adi Atara and Ken Austin sold a majority stake in Proper 12 to Proximo Spirits for about $600 million. Proximo had previously owned 49%. McGregor goes out, buys the bar that he may or may not have allegedly hit that old guy.
Well, he did.
It's a Black Forge Inn, and now he's running that empire. And for Conor McGregor, I don't know, he runs amok on Instagram. He's kind of kept things on the down low before this fight, but he has had some major business dealings. And for Dustin Poirier, well, he already had the hot sauce, and that's still a thing.
It's good, too.
And he's been in the gym, and that's pretty much all I've seen. So for Poirier, he came out the winner in their second fight. I know the big talking point is the fact that the leg kicks were the difference. Will we see McGregor come out here in that famous karate stance that he made so famous? I can't tell you that. I honestly don't know, but I have had a decent sample size out of the first two fights and their entire careers. Poirier making it as far as interim champ at lightweight. Obviously, McGregor, double champ status back in 2016. But that's the trouble. His last win at lightweight, November 12th of 2016. And as I said in the intro, the number one song in the world at that time was Closer by the Chainsmokers and Halsey. Will McGregor be able to get a win coming up? It's really tough to tell, but I do love the fight. It is a great one.
It's a weird fight. Let's just call it what it is. This is an odd trilogy that kind of has to be made, but not really. It's weird because, okay, I understand what the UFC is doing right now. Dustin Poirier right now is the number one ranked lightweight in the world. He's not Charles Oliveira, but a lot of people assume if he wins this fight, he will be fighting Charles Oliveira next to the title. Good? We're all good with those facts?
Sure.
Then why is Conor McGregor fighting in a title eliminator? It makes sense, don't get me wrong. And I do think that he showed enough in their second fight. I keep on wanting to say first fight. He showed enough in their second fight that I think McGregor could beat guys in the top 10 at lightweight. Don't get me wrong. It's just you can't have him fight Fighter X in the top 10 of the lightweight rankings, because this is the problem. If you lose to Dustin Poirier again for the second time out of your three fights, it's not the end of the world. Poirier himself is a big star now, and he's a very, very good fighter who has a very wide, broad appeal outside of just the MMA world. Whereas McGregor, he needs this win. Like, if he loses this one, I don't really know what his excuse can be. And this is the other thing that I kind of have to keep on going back constantly is McGregor really got a lot of people into MMA because of his trash talk. He was such an electrifying and magnetic persona that you just wanted to hear what he had to say. I know that there was a big talking point where, like, okay, him and Dustin, they're kind of friendly going into the second fight. There's not this animosity, but, like, it's just odd. It doesn't feel like it's the same guy anymore. And I was thinking this going into their second fight, but if their second fight proved anything, it's just Conor McGregor now isn't the same guy he was in 2016. And there's no shame in that. Like, you're probably not the same you were. I know I'm not. It's just people change after 6 years. And for Conor McGregor, close to $1 billion and 6 years of being a professional athlete are really, really, really going to change your career and just your outlook on MMA. And I know I sound a lot like Robin Black right now, but this is the last point I have. I understand Conor McGregor's fans are very passionate and they appreciate everything he's done. Not just for MMA as a sport, but just for Irish athletics on a global scale. This is the weird thing I have with Conor McGregor. We brought this up before the videos, and this is more of an open-ended discussion. Dustin Poirier will train with unranked Bellator fighters and not post a single thing on his Instagram. You don't know unless you're, like, on that fighter's page and they post something about it in their story. And no one says anything about it. And like you had mentioned, he sells his hot sauce, he goes to the gym. Conor McGregor will post one picture of him on a bike and people are like, wow, he's in shape now. I've never seen him like this. Like, it just, there's a weird psychology that always goes on when it is a Conor McGregor fight. And it always feels like people are finally saying, this is the best version. This is the best version. I've heard this is the best version of McGregor before the Khabib fight, before the first Nate fight, before the second Nate fight, and before the second Poirier fight. he looked human and beatable in all of those fights, and I just don't think that we're talking about the same guy now that we were talking about back when he did beat Poirier.
It's really weird for me because what I do when I do all the research, it's a big deep dive. You do the social media, you do the videos that the teams have been putting out, you do the videos that the UFC has been putting out, and when I look at it, this is all before the UFC's countdown is out. So this hinges on all of that. But from the Conor McGregor, I don't see a lot of SBG Ireland. I don't see a lot of John Kavanagh. And I know Conor and John Kavanagh have had a really interesting relationship with amateur MMA in Ireland with their contributions there. So you love to see it. But I've seen a lot of McGregor in California in pictures by himself, which is really weird. Like, it's just no Lobov, like no James Gallagher, who has taken his talents to Glory MMA and fitness, which is kind of odd.
But also, remember that time he lied about donating $500,000? And he did
Or did he?
Well, no, he said he was going to give it to Poirier's organization. I don't care who gets the money. It's just like, there's always an oh, by the way, it feels like, when it comes to Conor McGregor. And that's always the stage of a combat athlete's career where you do start to have question marks. Like, for instance, Manny Pacquiao was going to fight Errol Spence Jr. And Manny Pacquiao was a great fighter. Manny Pacquiao in 2016 may have made that a competitive fight. The issue is that that fight is being booked in 2021. Errol Spence Jr. is going to do horrible things to Manny Pacquiao, but that fight is going to be sold with the promise that Manny Pacquiao was the great thing and he can still be that great thing.
And might have to fight McGregor. We'll see how that one plays out. But when I look at this one, it is tricky because you saw the way that their second fight played out. So I threw it out there in the community tab on YouTube. And if you know, you know, and 1,900 of you have in the last day, 55% have Poirier to win, 45% have McGregor to win. So if we throw it on over to Tapology, let's see how it shakes out. 63% of 1,599 total votes have Poirier, 37% have McGregor. So the Tapology fans, there's a little bit more in Poirier's corner. The Fight Night Picks fans, maybe a little bit less, but it is a close enough fight. Now, in that first one, like you said, you did see some flashes out of McGregor a little bit, but it was mostly Poirier. I know McGregor at certain points was able to back Poirier up behind the black lines. You like to see that. Not a lot of fighters have a lot of success when they're backed up that way. Only Poirier did a lot of great work in tight in that fight, right?
It's really odd. This is, again, it's always the narrative. And the narrative is just a term that you're going to hear a lot this week. Why did Conor McGregor say he only lost that fight because of the leg kicks? Like, it's a weird thing to say. We all watched. Millions of people did. And the weirder thing is that people defend him, too. He's like, oh, my leg gave out. You also got hit by a check right hook because you drop your left hand when you go for right straight shots, and Dustin Poirier capitalized on that effect. Like, this is the problem. Conor McGregor is a very good boxer, and I know people talk about karate stance and all that. Conor McGregor doesn't really fight with the karate stance in MMA. People got to know this. Like, he did when he knocked out Jose Aldo because of that one strike. Look at the Nate fights. Does he fight like this in the Nate fights? Not at all. He fights slightly more upright and moves forward a lot and boxes a lot in those fights. We're talking about a fighter 10 pounds ago and like 6 years ago might have been competitive in this spot. It's weird. And him with the whole, like, oh, first person to go for a takedown is a bitch. Like, Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's really, really good at blocking shots. But that'd be like if Rudy Gobert went, hey, Steph Curry, don't shoot threes or pass the ball. You have to run at me straight forward every single time and give me the best chance at winning. It's just weird. Like, if you're McGregor, why wouldn't you just be like, hey, I made a mistake, but I'm going to fix that, and then I'm going to beat the brakes off you because I had success in these few areas. Like, if McGregor wanted to say, I landed straight left hands. He did. Like, McGregor still landed good shots in their second fight. Again, I keep on wanting to say their first. He landed good shots in their second fight, and he did do a decent job in their second fight. It's just the excuses. Those are the things that really worry me. If he just came out and was like, yeah, I need to work on this stuff. We heard about what he had to work on, and then he showed up at fight week seeming ready, I would feel a lot more comfortable saying that we're going to see a different version of Conor McGregor. I just feel like we're going to see the exact same fighter this weekend that we did see going into their second fight.
I think we might end up seeing some wrinkles, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, but you have those solo shots in, what is it, like hashtag my gym in California, and okay, that's a little weird. Probably doesn't want to give up who his training partners are. Huge wealth of talent in California, and you're going to fly guys in anyway. So I am actually really eager to see those countdown shows, because normally we tape this after the countdown, but very shortly after, you digest it a little bit, and then you go off on your points. So I'm eager to see that. But for me, again, I have a look at the odds. They flip-flop since they opened. Dustin Poirier opened a plus 120. He's a minus 120 favorite. McGregor opened a minus 140. He's about a minus 101 or thereabouts. For me, it's almost too soon. So I do like Poirier in this spot again, and I like Poirier by finish again. And I know where you're going to go with it, so I'll let you take it away.
I'm going to throw in one wrinkle. This is the only way I see Conor McGregor winning, so let me say this first. When Kamaru Usman beat Jorge Masvidal, it was because Jorge Masvidal is an orthodox fighter, and he threw a left check hook. When he threw his left check hook, he dropped his right hand, which left a wide open avenue for Kamaru Usman to land a huge straight right through the opening that Jorge Masvidal made. Okay? 2 orthodox fighters, remember this. We're going to switch it to southpaw. Both of these guys are southpaw. Dustin Poirier trains at the same gym Jorge Masvidal does. Poirier has a really good check right hook. Now, this is the one difference. Poirier does do a really good job, and I will say technically I think he is a better boxer than Jorge Masvidal, but he is a guy who is a very big fan of that check right hook. And if Conor McGregor can time a left straight coming right down the center, he might be able to land that shot. That is the one area I think Conor McGregor might be able to. If he can put a lot behind that one straight left, I do think you might see one of those situations where he goes straight, Poirier throws a curve, and Conor McGregor lands first. My official prediction, I think Poirier is going to win by submission, oddly enough. I know I've been saying this for a long time. Dustin Poirier is a black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but nobody talks about it. Like, Jose Aldo, it always felt like people would mention it. They'd be like, don't take him down because he's good there, but people couldn't in the first place. With Poirier, when you actually see him grapple in MMA, he is very good at it. Like,
whispers of Anthony Pettis.
Well, no, like, he beat the brakes off Anthony Pettis on the mat, and he completely out-grappled Dan Hooker, and I would consider those guys, like, good MMA grapplers. We just saw him get out-grappled by Khabib. Other than Khabib, I don't think a lot of guys can go out there and just out-grapple Poirier, like maybe Charles Oliveira. But other than those 2 guys who I would consider like all-time great grapplers, I do think he can hold his own with a lot of those guys. I think if he can get this fight into deep waters, he can eventually get that takedown like we saw in the first round against McGregor. And I do see a submission being likely for Poirier.
Matt, absolutely love this fight. We're both going with Louisiana's own Dustin Poirier to get the win in the rematch at 155. It's the 3rd leg of the trilogy, and let us know down below what you're thinking. If you like the video, if you hate the video, if you want to subscribe, you should toss us a like anyway. Make sure you check out our other content on the channel. We've got great interviews, great podcasts as well. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as our new venture. We opened another 2 boxes, the Panini Prism UFC cards. You can find us at 15-minute card breaks. So make sure you check that one out. There's a link down below in the description. We're going to be breaking all different kinds of sports cards over there because, hey, sometimes we're not just MMA guys, but we are hardcore MMA guys. Can't wait for this weekend's card. 2 hours before the prelims, we will have question mark kicks. We offer up our final picks and predictions. Just wait until about Friday before that thumbnail drops. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you do know when we go live, because there's a lot of stragglers near the end of those shows that are absolutely frazzled. We'll also have the fight companion for the main card. If you missed the reaction for the Poirier win, holy smokes, you're going to want to go back and check that one out. But Matt, I absolutely love this card top to bottom. I can't wait for the action to get going. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.
From the guys who brought you Fight Night Picks, and for a short time, hitting above the Mendoza line, comes the Alen brothers' next project. Let's tear the cover off and join in 15-minute card breaks.